Hey, everybody, welcome back. And today, the Obesity Project, episode 4, The Hidden Culprit, Why Hormones, Not Calories, Drive Obesity. So, as I mentioned in the previous video, if you haven't checked that out, go back and check it out, that the calorie method is actually flawed. So, this whole perception of calories in minus calories out equals body fat is actually not completely erroneous, not completely incorrect, but way too simplistic of an explanation. And as I mentioned in the video yesterday, um, these two variables, the calories in and calories out, are not independent of each other, which means that if you decrease the calories in, your body is going to decrease the calories out. It's going to lower your metabolic rate or your basal metabolism. And vice versa, if you eat more calories, your body is going to adjust your metabolic rate up to burn more calories because basically we have sort of a set point of what our body wants to maintain body fat at. And we're going to get to that just in 1 minute. So we understand that the calorie method or the, eat less, move more concept of dieting is incorrect, flawed. It's been proven over and over again that it doesn't work. And of course, if you've ever dieted, you know about the yo-yo effect where you lose some weight, it sort of slows down, plateaus, you eventually give up and you wind up gaining back more weight than you actually started off at. So if the calorie method is broken, then we have to figure out another more detailed, more in-depth explanation for what causes obesity. And here's the answer. The answer is hormones. So all of our body systems, every single body system is regulated by hormones. We have feedback loops that tell us if we have too much of this, we need to lower that. And if this gets too low, we have to raise that. So like, for instance, if your metabolism is too high, and you have too much thyroid hormone, then your thyroid hormone, the portion of your brain, the pituitary gland, is going to down-regulate your thyroid hormone production. And what that means is you're going to produce less thyroid hormone, which will then bring down your basal metabolic rate. This is true of all systems in our body, and obesity and body fat percentage is no different. And so you can think about the body set point as our sort of fat thermometer. And the problem in obesity is that the fat thermometer is actually set too high. So let's use the thermostat in your house as an example. If the thermostat is set too high, then it's going to get really, really warm. Let's say you're set to heat. I mean, I got to say whether it's cool or heat. But if it's set to heat and the thermostat is set too high, it's going to get really, really warm inside the room, inside your house. Now, if we just think about the calorie in, calorie out method, then what you would be saying is, well, there's more heat going into my house than actually coming out. And that would be true. But as I mentioned with the calorie model, it's actually too simplistic of an explanation. And you got to dive deeper. So if you simply say, okay, I have my thermostat set to a certain amount and it's starting to get hot in here, but you don't realize the thermostat's controlling the heat, you might say, all right, well, there's too much heat in my house. Let me get some fans or let me try to cool things down. And your fans are going to be working overtime because your thermostat is going to constantly battle against you trying to cool the house while the thermostat's set at a certain temperature. So, like for instance, if your house is set at 75 degrees and you find it a little bit, let's say the house is set to 80 degrees and you really want it, you're more comfortable at 75. You might say it's a little warm in here, so maybe I'll get a portable air conditioner to come in and cool the air down. But what's going to happen is your thermostat, of course, is going to fight against that AC unit and drive the heat up so that eventually they're offsetting each other. Well, your set point for fat, percentage body fat, is also the same way. So this is why the calories in, calories out is just too simplistic. Something else is controlling what you eat and how obese you are. And that's the fat set point. That's the set point that our body wants to be at. And so hormones regulate the set point. So your body wants to be like, let's just say, just as an example, you're a 5'10" man, young man, and your body wants to be set at maybe 190 or 200 pounds. Let's make it even, round numbers. So if your body wants to be at 200 pounds, guess what's going to happen as soon as you decrease your calories? So let's say you want to go on a diet and you want to lose some weight. What happens is your set point wants you to be at 200. You're now decreasing the amount of calories. Your body is going to recognize that the calories coming in are insufficient to maintain the set point that your body wants to be at. And so what's going to happen is you're going to trigger certain hormones that are going to increase hunger and make you eat more. Now, again, if you are really, really disciplined and you don't allow that hunger to overtake you and you don't allow the increase in calories, then your body's going to say, okay, well, that didn't work. So what we're going to have to do is lower the metabolic rate to compensate, right? So one way or the other, your fat body percentage is going to be at the rate at which your body wants it to be. And hormones control all of this. Now, the key hormone to understand, and we're going to go through in future episodes, we're going to go through each individual hormone and kind of talk about its role in obesity. But the key hormone, the main controlling factor in obesity is insulin. So insulin is absolutely the key. And what happens is insulin gets triggered or signaled by you eating food. And yes, different foods will trigger different insulin levels, but that's for a future topic. Right now, you eat something and your insulin levels go up. And when those insulin levels go up, that's your body telling it. So the insulin level is telling your body that it's now time to store all this excess energy that's coming in through your meal. So what happens is your insulin triggers the body to store those sugars and that fat coming into your body. And so insulin then takes the sugar molecules that you're eating through starches and carbohydrates that break down into glucose or blood sugar and stores it as something called glycogen. And insulin triggers something called glycogenesis, meaning creation of glycogen in both the liver primarily, but then also in the muscles. So glycogen is created and is a storage vessel for blood sugar that's triggered by insulin saying to store the sugar coming in. So also it stores fat. So insulin is the main trigger to tell your body to take that extra fat that's coming in or the extra sugar molecules that get converted into fat, which the liver does, and store it away in our fat cells. So insulin is the key. Insulin controls, it's a storage messenger, right? So it says food's coming in, excess energy is coming in. We need to now store it as either glycogen or as body fat. Now, that's after a meal. So let's say you haven't eaten for a while. Fasting, and I'm not talking about intermittent fasting or fasting for days on end, but just fasting, going without eating for a few hours, then starts to have the insulin levels come down. And as the insulin levels come down, sugar now comes out of the liver and out of the muscles in the form of glycogen. It breaks down that glycogen into those individual glucose molecules once again. And those glucose molecules then can be used as energy. And your body utilizes that, burns the sugar. And equally so, when insulin levels drop, that says to the fat cells that we're no longer storing fat away. We actually need to now use some of the stored fat, and fat leaks out of the fat cells. That fat gets broken down into fatty acids that now your body can utilize and burn that fat as energy. So when insulin levels are high, it's signaling the body to store this extra energy or this sugar and fat, store it away for later use. When fasting, insulin levels come down and insulin levels are low, it's telling the body to utilize or burn sugar and fat. Now, I mentioned glycogen. So glycogen is an interesting topic because glycogen is sort of like your wallet, right? So you have a certain amount of money in your wallet that's readily available, right? So you have a limited storage of that inside your wallet, but it's readily accessible. You can take it out at any time, super easy to access, and you use it, right? So if you go to a store, break out your wallet, immediately have cash in your wallet. You pay for whatever you're buying with that cash. And then when you get a chance, you actually restock that cash so you have more cash in your wallet, right? So that's the way glycogen works. Glycogen is a very fast, easily converted storage of sugar. And so it's really easy and super efficient for your liver to break down glycogen into sugar molecules, into glucose molecules that can then be used for energy. But there's a limited supply, but it's easily converted very, very quickly. Now, on the other hand, your body fat is sort of like your bank account, where there's much more store available. There's much more supply available inside your bank account, but it's not as easily accessible. You don't have easy access to it. And so when your body is trying to use energy, it's going to go to the quickest, easiest source of energy first, which is the glycogen. So it's going to pull the glycogen out of your liver, out of your muscle, break it down, cleave it into glucose molecules that can be burned for energy. But when the glycogen is used up, your body is saying that now I need to refill those glycogen stores. And what's going to happen is your brain, the hypothalamus portion of your brain, will actually sense the decreasing blood sugar and the decreased amount of glycogen available in your liver. And it's going to say, okay, we need to refill those glycogen stores. And it's going to trigger the hunger hormones to cause you to eat more. So you're going to break down the glycogen quickly. You're going to restock it quickly. The body wants to have rapid, easy access to all this energy. And you're not going to be able to access your fat cells. In order to access the fat cells, you need to have a much longer period where the glycogen is sort of used up, and now it needs to tap into the fat stores. And those fat stores, you've got hundreds of thousands of calories stored on your body, even if you're not obese. You have hundreds of thousands of calories stored in body fat. So the glycogen is always used up and replenished first, which is why, if you let me go this way, if you see that we don't get fat because we overeat. We overeat because we get fat. So when the glycogen is used up and needs to be replenished, your body, your brain triggers your body and says, we're going to release hunger hormones that are going to get you to replenish that glycogen as quickly as we can. But if you don't replenish the glycogen, now you can tap into your fat stores. So we'll get into much more of how insulin works on this, some of the other hunger and the other body obesity control mechanisms or hormones involved in that in the next episode. So I hope you learned a little something. I hope this gives you just a basic overview of insulin. We're going to dive way more into insulin and all of its effects in the future, but and not the far future, in the near future. That's one of the first things we're going to focus on. But we're going to tap into insulin. We're going to talk about things like cortisol. We're going to talk about epinephrine. We're going to talk about leptin. We're going to talk about ghrelin. We're going to talk about all of these regulating hormones and how they affect obesity, type 2 diabetes, chronic illnesses, all this stuff in later episodes. So I hope you got some value. I hope you appreciated this video. If you did, please like, share, and comment. We want to get the word out. We want to start teaching people that what they eat is really what controls everything, and that the entire obesity system, the body fat system, or that thermostat that I talked about that has that body fat set point that you want to be at, is controlled by hormones. So again, much more about that in upcoming episodes, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.